Trump's Panama Canal threat to leave country's officials scrambling for answers. Panama City, Panama CNN. A new Panamanian ambassador was given strict instructions as he prepared to meet then President Donald Trump one day in 2019. Do not engage him in any substantive discussion of critical issues. This was meant to be a carefully choreographed photo op, nothing more but a brief stop on the diplomatic conveyor belt as foreign ambassadors lined up in the West Wing to formalize their positions atop embassies across Washington. But the instruction left Juan de Dianos unprepared for the brief interactions with Trump that followed. As he went to shake Trump's hand, the president mentioned that in his experience there was a lot of crooks in Panama. De Dianos died in 2021 and never sought to publicize or drew attention to the moment. But the story was relayed or confirmed to CNN by several former Panamanian government officials who, like the rest of the world, are now grappling to divine Trump's views on the Central American nation of 4 million people through a series of social media posts, and then most prominently during the press conference last week, where he repeatedly rallied against former President Jimmy Carter's decision to give the Panama Canal over to Panama. Trump has set up a global guessing game about his intentions. His decision not to rule out the use of military force to retake the critical waterway escalated disputed that seemingly appeared out of thin air. Current and former government officials, senior canal officials, and residents in Panama are now left with plenty of questions, but few answers. What prompted the latest outburst? Would Trump really give green light to a U.S. military invasion to retake the Panama Canal? Are his attacks intended as the broader brushback to China in the escalating battle over hemispheric influence? Or perhaps, as some in Panama speculate, did some shipping magnate complain to Trump about rising canal tolls over dinner at Mar-a-Lago recently? Interviews with more than a dozen people in Washington, Mar-a-Lago, and during several days of reporting on the ground in Panama suggest Trump's skeptical views of the country stretch back decades. Trump expressed disdain for the 1977 deal to hand over the canal long before he entered politics, but his opinion of Panama was also forged by his personal experience there. Those began with 2003. Trump won the Miss Universe contest held in Panama City, and then as the public name and face of a high-end hotel and resort development that would become buried in litigation and long-running dispute. In this 1977 photo, demonstrators, many with signs and banners protesting a treaty to return control of Panama Canal to Panama, are gathered on the steps of the east entrance of the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Trump's salvos prompted a swift response from Panamanian President Jose Raul Mulino, who aggressively pushed back on social media and in local media interviews. Mulino has also appeared to recalibrate as part of the intentional strategy to direct discussions through proper diplomatic channels once Trump officially takes office. There have been no signs of the emergency trip to Mar-a-Lago to curry favor with the president-elect. Trump's advisors point to plans for a more aggressive posture towards the Beijing's growing influence in Latin America as the driving force behind Trump's comment. But the truth for Panamanian officials is that the absence of direct communications with the incoming administration or face-based explanation from Trump himself, a vacuum has been created, left to be filled by any number of theories. Disappearing intent from threat. He's like a magician whose Jose Quijano said of Trump as he raised his left hand and started waving. You know, he wants you to look at this hand, and then he's doing something else with the other. So really, his purpose, I don't know what it is. Quijano, a Panama Canal Authority administrator from 2012 to 2019, didn't frame his point to the critical or pejorative manner. In fact, each one echoed repeatedly by current and former Panamanian officials who spoke to CNN. There is no dismissal of Trump's social media post, nor is there mockery or derision. Trump's words, whatever the platform, are taken seriously in the sense that there is a widespread belief that they are signaling something. We're communicated that we'd welcome conversations with the president-elect's team. One senior Panamanian government official told CNN there has been a reciprocal desire on that front to this point, the official said. The tugboat assists the ship as it navigates the Charges River while it transiting through the Panama Canal on September 20, 2023 in Gamboa, Panama. As Quijano weighed Trump's recent comment, he sat on the hotel balcony overlooking Panama Bay. Massive cargo ships are visible in the distance, waiting for their respective scheduled times to traverse the locks on their 51-mile journey from the Pacific to the Atlantic. The U.S. built and operated the canal and its surrounding canal zone from its opening in 1914 until each official handed over to Panamanian government in 1999. One of the world's largest shipping passageways, roughly 4% of the world's maritime trade and more than 40% of U.S. container traffic traverse the 51-mile route across the isthmus of Panama. The canal has defined Quijano's adult life. He started working there in 1975, 2 years before President Carter and Panamanian leader General Omar Torrijos signed treaties that would lead to its eventual handover. Quijano makes it clear he is no politician, but he has the keen understanding of the political consequences of the deals Carter put in motion. Jimmy Carter lost because of what he did, Quijano said, referring to the Ronald Reagan's 1980s presidential campaign, which was punctuated by sharp criticism of the treaties. Quijano was sitting just off the main floor of the J.W. Marriott Panama, the same hotel that used to bear Trump's name. I fell in love with the place. Trump first crossed the paths with Panama in 2003. Back then, Trump owned the Miss Universe contest, and that year the pageant was held in Panama City. My interest in Panama really began when we had the Miss Universe contest in Panama, Trump said in 2009 promotional video for new hotel development. I was there for quite a bit of time with the Miss Universe, and I fell in love with the place. Even then, Trump viewed Carter's deal to hand over the canal as the mistake, according to two people who worked with the pigeons operations and had regular interactions with Trump. He said more than once that U.S. got ripped off, one of the people said. It wasn't a grand statement, just an observation he wasn't shy about sharing. Trump's specific views on the Panama Canal tracked with his long-standing contention that the U.S. was being ripped up by foreign countries, largely due to poor negotiations and weakness in the ranks of the government officials. That view landed Trump in hot water as he toyed with the 2012 run for president. At the same time, he prepared for the grand opening of the Trump Ocean Club, the Trump licensed and Trump organization managed the hotel. A man walked next to the Trump Ocean Club International Hotel in Panama City on February 27, 2018. Finished in 2011, the soaring 70-story glass facade resort remains the tallest building in Central America and marked Trump's first major international property licensing deal. But, but when Trump was quoted in 2011, CNN story at the time saying the U.S. stupidly returned the canal to Panama in exchange for nothing. The comment sparked local outrage and led Panama City's municipal council to vote unanimously to declare Trump persona non grata. Trump moved quickly to clarify in the interview with the Panamanian newspaper La Prensa that his comment had been respectful for Panamanians for the excellent deal they closed, and that U.S. negotiators led by Jimmy Carter did an extremely full job. Trump continued in the days that followed to attack Carter and that treaties that led to the handover in the Fox News interview and would host the grand opening of the Trump Ocean Club a few months after that. Panama's president at the time, Ricardo Martinelli, attended the festivities. The soap opera like a roller coaster that consumed the years that followed the building could fill several file cabinets based on the legal filing alone. But the short version is that by 2018, the Trump name was being theatrically chiseled off the hotel's signage in the very public manner. The hotel has since been rebranded the JW Marriott Panama. Why now? As Jose Eduardo Lita arrived at the hotel for the Saturday morning meeting, the former foreign minister of Panama noted the irony of the location. Like so many here, Lita was supremely interested in figuring out what it was exactly Trump was angling for his social media attacks. A lot of people just think that there was those remarks that have no fundamental truth in it, so they disregarded in return said. I don't like to disregard what President Trump says because when he says something, he might not mean exactly what he's saying, but he's looking for something. Ritter didn't want to entertain the possibility that Trump's private business experience played a role in his current fixation on the Panama Canal. Trump, he noted, has the far longer history attacking the handover agreement. But he did view Trump's remarks as a clear and potentially ominous signal. This fixation with Panama, I sense that something is going to happen, Ritter said. I don't think it is going to be a military invasion or he's take over the canal, but something is going to happen. The irony of the current tension, several Panamanian current and former officials noted, is that despite Trump's personal experience and the long-standing fixation on the canal's handover, he paid little attention to the country in his first term. Trump never nominated an ambassador to the country in his 4 years, relying instead on the holdover from the Obama administration and then Korea officials to fill the job on an acting basis. Chinese ties with Panama also strengthened significantly during Trump's first term in office. Panama severed its diplomatic ties with Taiwan in an aborted shift to bolster ties with Beijing in 2017 and joined China's Belt and Road Initiative a year later. Trump's concerns about Beijing's influence over the canal center on two ports situated at either end of the canal that was operated by CK Hutchison Holdings, the Hong Kong-based company that first secured those rights in 1997, 2 decades before he enters the White House. Ilya Espinoza de Marota's first thought when she saw Trump's initial social media attacks on the Panama Canal's operations was one of the confusion. Why now? The Panama Canal Authority's deputy administrator recalled to CNN. Hong Kong has been here since 97. Well, we've been running the canal for 25 years, so we've been very transparent. You can know this is run 100% by Panamanians, so why now? It puzzles me. Cargo ships wait to transit the Panama Canal in Panama City in June 28, 2024. Still, the Hong Kong connected seafood have drawn the scrutiny and national security concerns from U.S. officials and were cited by Florida Republican Senator Marco Rubio, Trump's pick for Secretary of State, during his confirmation hearing this week as evidence that the terms of the treaty agreement that require neutrality in the canal's operations may have been violated. Yet those concerns come at a moment where the Panamanian government's posture appears sharply different than it was during Trump's first term. President Mulino made stemming the flow of the migrants through the Darien Gap, the treacherous jungle stretch that links the Colombia to Panama, where hundreds of thousands of migrants have tracked in recent years, a top priority. Upon his inauguration last week, Mulino immediately took action on the deal with the Biden administration to deliver on that pledge. That's not a true statement. Since Trump's election, Mulino has made clear his desire to partner with the incoming Trump team on its long-standing top priority. Then Mulino was put in the position of having to fire back at Trump on social media and in a video statement defending the sovereignty of the Panama Canal has left the Panamanian officials, CNN spoke to, for lack of the better term. Flummoxed asked if there was any validity to Trump's claim that U.S. cargo ships and U.S. Navy vessels were paying higher rates than those from other nations. Marotta, the canal's deputy administrator, didn't hesitate. No, That's not a true statement, she said, quickly batting down the idea of cutting the rate for U.S. vessels as the way of placating Trump. It is not possible option, Marotta told CNN, because of the treaties. The treaties signed by Tolijos and Carter in 1977 continued to dictate the operational rules, regulations, and infrastructure followed by the Panama Canal Authority to this day. In this case, the treaties bind Panama to ensuring tolls and related charges for transit are just reasonable, equitable, and consistent with international law. The President Jimmy Carter and Panamanian leader General Omar Torrijos embraced each other after signing the Panama Canal Treaty in Washington, D.C. on September 7, 1977. The Marotta was the engineer who led the Panama Canal expansion project, the $5.2 billion undertaking that opened in 2016 and dramatically expanded the canal's operations and the capacity to move far larger cargo ships through the waterway. The U.S. government's role in that effort, as far as financially, none, Marotta said. According to Quizano, the former canal administrator not only trumps the allegations of exorbitant tolls on U.S. ships not true, the question was never brought up during Trump's first 4 years in office. I was the administrator in the period when I raised the toll as well, especially after the expansion was completed. Quizano told CNN, "We raised the tolls and he was the president during those years. I never heard from him any complaint about the canal or about anything." The canal's original 1914 logs can handle ships carrying up to 5,000 containers. The expansion can handle ships carrying more than triple that amount, and the resulting revenue has transformed the financial standing of the canal. The Canal Authority returned $2.4 billion to the Panamanian government in the last fiscal year. There are major geopolitical, economic, and climate issues the authorities has grappled with over the last several years, and that have created acute problems. Marotta and her colleagues are intensely focused on trying to navigate on the day-to-day basis. The canal, after all, is not a public utility. It is a business, and the absolutely critical one for Panama's economy and people, with the workforce of 8,500 and the source of potable water for 50% of the country's population. To us, this is the revenue provider for the country, Marotta said, who started working of the canal in 1985 and witnessed the transformed approach after the handover. So we look at the business model and not the government break-even model. That in itself is the big change. No Chinese soldiers anywhere. On the sweltering January day in the first weeks of the Panama's dry season, the political storm coursing around the canal seems the peripheral at best. Tourists packed the grandstands just outside the operational perimeter of the Miraflores locks. Kids wandering through the large outdoor playground inside the visitor center. The souvenir shops and concession stands are full as the voice of Morgan Freeman greeted tourists ahead of the IMAX documentary. The Oscar-winning actor narrate at the start of every tour. Yet beneath the business as usual scene of normalcy, signs of the nation's struggle to reclaim its sovereignty aren't hard to find. Marotta spoke to CNN less than 2 weeks after Panama's celebration of 25 years operating the canal, where Molino said, "The rest assured it will stay in our control forever." The Panama Canal Administration building Marotta walks into for work each day was until the 1999 Until 1999, handover inside the U.S. operated the Panama Canal zone. Just 4 days prior, Molino had been coupled up hundreds of yards away from where she spoke, laying the rain or rate uh, wait at the internal flame that marks the memorial to the Panamanians killed in 1964 protesting American control of the canal and the zone surrounding its operations. Martyrs' Day is commemorated on January 9th each year. The visible bizarre reminder of the nation's experience that runs far deeper than each cornerstone engineering marvel. People focus on the canal, the canal, the canal, Marotta says. But what made the country of Panama, the people of the Panama wanting the canal to the transferred to Panama wasn't just the canal. This was like the U.S. territory inside the country, so there were barriers. There was a U.S. police. There were U.S. schools. It was the completely other country within our country, and there were many military bases. Quijano grew animated, talking about Trump's threat to seize the canal by force. That's not going to happen, Quijano said. I will be on the streets myself defending our sovereignty because the canal is over sovereign land. One canal employee casually noted that passengers on the cruise ship that came through the locks earlier in the weekend held up signs apologizing for Trump's risked antagonism. He seems to get a kick out of it. Working into the operation centers in between the two passageways, another pointed out the critical functions. A handful of personnel towards the back of the room were intensely focused on the carrying out. Then he pushed it. See, all Panamanian, no Chinese soldiers anywhere.